Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I can't see any of you, so it's like talking to a black screen, but that's fine. I'm used to that, don't worry. So my name's Matt. I have, for the last 5 years or so, been helping people with their careers. And half of my time I spend working with people who are unemployed and running employability programs. And then the rest of the time I work with professionals who are either looking for a role, feel as though they've stalled in their career, or just want a refresh in terms of where they're going next. My background is in business, so I spent 20 years or so in the travel industry. I ran a number of businesses in the UK and also ran some businesses overseas as well. So I kind of get corporate life. I get to a degree where you guys are at the moment, because there's a lot of change going on. And what I'm going to try and do over the next kind of 20-25 minutes or so is give you a flavor for how I think you should be moving forward, and try and bring in some of my experience from business, but also bring in more of my recent experience in terms of helping people to decide what they want to do, because that's a big thing at the moment, especially post-COVID. It's kind of made a lot of people think about, what do I want to do? And then what we'll focus on today is talking about your CVs and also a little bit of LinkedIn stuff as well. So I understand that you're going through a lot of change. And I think that we probably have never seen a period of change like this over the last 2 years, where we're having to adapt to difficult situations and do things a little bit differently. What I'm not going to do today is bombard you with PowerPoint slides, facts, spend time telling you how wonderful you are. I'm sure you are all wonderful. But my style is a little bit more honest and a little bit more to the point, I guess, because I believe you can go out there and you can stick into Google career coaches, and you'll find many people that brand themselves as career coaches or life coaches or some other wonderful terms. And I think, to be honest, a lot of what they've got to say is complete garbage. And a lot of them haven't operated in the market, haven't been unemployed, and haven't been in a situation where they're not really sure what's coming next. So excuse me if I offend or I'm too blunt, but that's kind of my style in terms of just telling you like I think it is. And most people that I work with, I stress the most, not all, but most people I work with appreciate the honesty in terms of where they are at the moment in their journey. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about CVs, but before we go forward, we need to be honest that finding a job is horrible. Yeah, absolutely horrible. Finding a job is also a full-time job. And unfortunately, most of the market out there is set up for you to do things in the wrong way. What I mean by that is that you will go onto websites like Indeed and LinkedIn and Total Jobs and all the rest of them, and they will say, we're going to make life easy for you. And the way they make life easy for you is bombarding you with hundreds of emails every day, which I'm sure some of you have started to get already, most of which have jobs that have no relevance to you whatsoever. But if you're lucky enough to pick through the 37 emails a day and find a job that you want, they then say to you, we're going to make it easy for you. And what you can do is, with your stored CV and your base CV, they will say easy apply, 1-click apply, 2 clicks apply, and allow you to apply for a job with your base CV. Has anyone experienced that so far?
Yeah.
Let me explain why I think they're trying to do that. Indeed, we'll pick on them because they're the biggest. The way they make their money is through advertising. So people like me, if I'm looking for a member of staff, I will go on there and put an advert on. If I have an advert on there for a week and I've spent £100 putting that advert on and no one has applied, I'm going to do one of two things. Either I'm going to phone up Indeed and say to them, I want my money back. Or two, I'm never going to use Indeed again, and I'll use one of the other, what feels like 1,000 other websites that are out there to help you. So it is in their interest. Of course, it's in their interest in a way to get you a job, but it is in their interest to make you apply for as many jobs as possible. Because if I put an advert live and I get 100, 150 applicants, but all of them are absolutely rubbish, I can't go back to Indeed and say I want my money back, because they say, look, we've delivered you 150 people. So the reason why I'm saying this is your approach to job searching and moving forward needs to be to understand what the drive is of companies like Indeed, and it's to make you apply for as many jobs as possible. So, and most people I work with, probably 95% of people I work with, take the approach when they're applying for jobs of quantity over quality. And you sit there and fire off all these applications using your stored CVs. And in most cases, your application probably won't even be looked at, because there is a problem. And when recruiters and employer managers, this is not just some stuff I make up, other stuff is fact, yeah? And this is one of the fact bits that research tells us, and they carry out this research every single year. And it's about 3,000 people that are included in this research. And they look at the average amount of time that an employer or recruiter spends looking at your CV. Does anyone want to guess how long they think, or a few of you can guess, how long you think a recruiter will spend looking at your CV?
About 10 seconds.
5 seconds.
5 seconds?
Maybe.
It's like you've been on this call before. The actual answer is 6.7 seconds. So let's raise it up. I think it was Gary said 10 seconds, or one of you said 10 seconds, right? Let's raise it up and say we've got 10 seconds. The biggest problem that people make in their CVs and their documents is that they whittle on and on and on and on about stuff that has no relevance to the job they're applying for. So the first rule of a CV is what I call the power of 5. What you need to be doing when you look at an application you're interested in, do not apply with your CV that's stored on Indeed, LinkedIn, and the other 1,000 or so job websites. You need to make sure that your application is bespoke to that job. So my approach is actually apply for less jobs and apply for them properly. So what you need to be doing is, once you see a job you like, and you may well have done this in the past, if you have, then great. You need to, I'm old school, I'd print off the job description, yeah? And I would print it off, and I would find the 5 things that I believe that employer is looking for. And your CV then should be built around those 5 things to make sure that if you've only got 10 seconds to grab their attention, you grab their attention with the right stuff. And you can't do that if you just think you can have one CV and apply for loads of different jobs with one CV. I believe you are sadly mistaken. It is about making sure, of course, you don't have to rewrite your CV every time, but it is making sure that at the start of your CV in particular, that CV is tailored to the role. Have any of you ever heard of the elevator pitch before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't, you can tell already it's an Americanism. Yeah. But for those of you that haven't, I'll run through the elevator pitch. It's a bit like watching Dragon's Den. Yeah, if you've seen that, or a bit like that awful program, The Apprentice. Yeah, where you have to get your message across quickly. So the elevator pitch says you've got this person who is wealthy and runs a successful business, and you want them to invest in your business. And you try to get a meeting with that person, but they're just too busy. And they say to you, I'll tell you what I'll do. Yeah, I take the elevator from the ground floor of my office up to the top floor of my office, because all the important people are at the top floor. Yeah. And I will give you the amount of time between when those elevator doors close to when they open at the top floor, because when they open at the top floor, that person is gone. This is how you need to view a CV. If you went in there and said, hi, my name's Matt Cheevers. I live at 27 Crown Road in Biggleswade. My telephone number is this. My email address is this. Yeah. And I'm really good at all these things. By the time you've even got halfway through that, the doors are open, they're gone. And you have to take that view with your CV and your covering letter. Yeah. So the CV needs to be focused. The start of the CV needs to be focused on that job, because otherwise, if you don't grab that person's attention within the first 10 seconds, you're gone. You will have heard stories that jobs on Indeed at the moment are getting 800, 900, 1,000 applicants. They're not going to look for all those. They're going to look for the ones that stand out. Yeah. So it's all about having a tailored approach to your CV and making sure that you are standing out at the start. Now, what a lot of people I do work with think, oh, I only need one CV, so therefore I'm going to put everything I've done on that CV. It's like War and Peace. And what you're effectively saying, yeah, is if you have a profile statement and a key skill section that has 30, 40, 50 different messages, and I could quite easily sit here with some of your CVs now if I had them and count the messages. What you're saying, it's an awful expression, this, but I spent 20 years in sales. Yeah. And we had a term called the product vomit. Awful term, I know. Yeah. But bad salespeople would go into a meeting with a client and go, we can do this for you. We can do that for you. We can do this for you. We can do that. And we can do that. And we can do that. And we can do this and do that. If any of you have ever dealt with bad salespeople, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And what you're effectively saying is, here's everything I do. You decide what you want. And unfortunately, people take that approach with their CV as well, where they go, this is everything. Yeah, you find in these 4 or 5 paragraphs, you find the stuff that's relevant to you. And guess what? They don't have time to do that. So guess what happens to your CV? Yeah, in the old days, it would go in the bin. Now it's deleted. So it's all about focus on your CV. And I'll happily look at your CVs for you and give you some advice on them for free. Yeah, is you need to make sure that every time you apply for a job, you tailor your CV. There is also another side benefit. I will get onto the CV stuff in more detail, honestly, but once I start on this subject, I tend to go off on a bit of a tangent. Yeah, there is another benefit of changing your CV to the application as well. And this is, so again, we take a website like Indeed. So as much as you are looking for jobs on Indeed, there are people on Indeed looking for you. Yeah. And what happens on those websites is, if I put in some requirements and I said, right, I'm looking for someone who has customer service experience, operations experience, has 15 years experience and lives in and around Hertfordshire, that's going to generate a list of people because they all meet that criteria. And the system then needs to identify how to portray that list. Because if there are a list of 40, 50, 60 people, how many people do you reckon they're looking for a shortlist? Generally, comes back to my magic number again, generally 5, maybe 6, depending on the role. So when they're presented with a list of people on Indeed, like you guys will probably be on there, yeah, they need to find a way of ordering that list. Now, if I go through the top 6, 7 people on that list and find that 5 of them are suitable for an interview, do you think I'm going to read the CV of the person that's on the 20th on the list or 21st on the list? No. So the way in which they order the list, you think might be quite complex. So when I ask this question with my groups, they sometimes say it's who's got the most relevant experience. But at that stage, they don't know because you've met the criteria. Or they may say it's alphabetical, in which case I'd say we'd all change our names to Aaron Aardvark, and get to the top of that list and cheat the system. But actually, the way in which they order that list is it's the person who last updated their CV goes to the top of the list. And the logic kind of works because I've got an Indeed account, which I use for training purposes. I've not changed my CV on there for maybe 4 years. So I would be down the bottom of the list. Yeah. If Luke had gone on and changed his CV last night because he's actively looking for a job, then Luke would be at the top of the list because they're assuming that Luke is actively looking for a role and I'm not. So a great little hack for all of you. Don't tell too many people because otherwise everyone would do it. Go onto these websites every week, delete your CV and resubmit a CV with a couple of changes onto it. That will make sure that you are always near the top of that list. The other thing, and I can talk at length about this, but we probably won't have time today, is how many of you do covering letters with your applications?
Sometimes not.
Sometimes not. Yeah.
Depends on the requirement.
Yeah. So there's a little thing on a website like Indeed. And what they do is they get you to use your uploaded CV, and the buttons are big to go, use your CV. The buttons to edit your CV are really small because they don't want you to think about it. Because if you think about it, you might not apply for the job, but they don't want that. And then they have this magic box about halfway through the process, and it says upload a CV. And there is a magic word in brackets that's next to it. It's called optional. Yeah. And when things are optional in this world, what do we generally do? We don't do them. Yeah. Like when we're filling in a form online. And we might not do the covering letter because, one, we can't be bothered because we've been applying for job after job after job and think it's not going to make any difference. Or two, we don't know what to say. Picture again a list of 100 people that have applied for a job you've posted on Indeed. Put yourself in the mind of the employer. If there's 100 people on the list and 5 people have attached a covering letter, which applications are you going to look at first?
One is bothered. Yeah.
Because what you're saying is whether your covering letter is rubbish or really good, the first thing you've said to that person is, I've made an effort. Always, 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 if you get the opportunity to do a covering letter. Very, very important. Yeah. And I can offer some alternative advice on covering letters as well. So play the game, I guess, is what I'm saying, guys. Yeah. I don't know you in detail. I don't know what your situations are. I have a rough idea, but you have to play the game. And if you just go out there and load your CV onto 30 different websites, yeah, and sit back and wait for something to happen, you will be bottom of the queue. Job searching is about being proactive, and it's about actually sitting down and thinking about, right, putting my CV on Indeed and all the other websites is a given. That's what everyone's going to do. What can I do to be proactive to make myself feel as if I'm in control of this process? Because you will get rejections, guaranteed. Yeah, I've had one client I've worked with in the last 2 years who got the first job we applied for together. He was like, Matt, you're a genius. I let him believe that for a bit, but to be honest, we just got a little bit lucky because it doesn't happen like that. Yeah, so it's a work in progress, and it is all about sticking to the principle of, yeah, making sure that what you're doing is bespoke and making sure what you're doing is tailored to that role. And your biggest challenge out of this will be to keep doing it in the right way. Because when you get rejected from the first job, second job, third job, fourth job, you'll say, oh, I've been doing it in the way that bloke Matt Cheever's told me to do. But to be honest, the results are the same. I'm getting rejected. Why don't I go back to the way I was doing it before, where I'm not bothering with a covering letter or just using my Indeed profile, LinkedIn profile, whatever it may be. So this job searching is a mindset issue, guys. Yeah, I know I've been there. Yeah, unemployed for seven months about 5 years ago. Completely soul destroying. Completely soul destroying. My aim here is not to depress you. My aim is here to be realistic and say, yeah, if we were in a situation, there was this clever chap, right? You will have heard of this clever chap. His name was Albert Einstein, and he had a theory of insanity. Yeah, and his theory of insanity that you may well have heard is that if you keep on doing the same thing in the same way over and over again, why do you think you're going to get different results? You've got to change. You've got to adapt. You've got to do things differently. Yeah. I'm available to you to talk about all this stuff in a lot more detail in terms of how you can approach things. And maybe if you want to share, any of you want to share your contact details at the end of the call on the chat, I can send you a few documents that backs up talking about my approach, because there are 2 ways to job search. 1, waiting on something else to happen, and 2, being proactive and getting out there and doing something about it. Enough preaching. Yeah. Let's talk about the CV, because that's why you're here. Let me talk about the different sections of a CV and what your CV should look like. And again, if you provide your email address at the end of the session, I will more than happily look at your CV and give you some guidance about what you can change. If you're really desperate, after that process has happened, you can pay me some money if you want, and I'll do it all for you. Yeah. That's where people generally put their hands up and go, me, 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 me. Okay, tough crowd, tough set of customers. Yeah. But this is not a pressure sales business for me. Yeah. I'm trying to have a conversation to try and help you because I've been in your situation, but that option is there. Okay, so let's look at the CV. I can provide you with an example. I could put an example up on screen right now, but then you'll sit and read that and not listen to me. And that's not the point of the session. So let's talk about the top of the CV. Yeah, at the top of your CV, you need 3 things and 3 things only. 1, your name. Rocket science, this, isn't it? Yeah. 2, your mobile number. And 3, your email address. Do not put the word mobile in front of your mobile number. I'm not stupid. I get what it is. Do not put the word email in front of your email address. Not needed. It's a waste of words. If you thought back in the 90s, like people did, that it was fun to have an email address that was crazycatlady666@gmail.com, please do not use it on your CV. Equally as well, please do not give away anything, and this applies to the whole of the CV, where we get the opportunity to show unconscious bias. You've all heard of this term, I presume. Yeah. Unconscious bias for me most of the times is another word of just clouding over that it's probably conscious bias. Yeah. And I don't like it, but we have to be realistic. And there are many different factors that people can show bias against. When I had my CV, when I first got made redundant and I went out to ask for some advice, my email address was mcheevers73@gmail.com. What do you think was wrong with that email address?
Age.
See, I hate it when people get this so quickly. I must work on the lighting in my room.
It's because I'm just looking at my CV now.
Yeah.
Editing as we go.
I like it when people take a bit longer to come up with that answer, but you're right. Yeah. So I was born in 73, and when I set up my Gmail account, it said Matt Cheevers was taken, or M Cheevers was taken. So I've come up with a number 73. Yeah. Could that possibly lead to unconscious bias? Yeah. Certainly can. Other small little things. Some of you may have your home telephone number. I can't see all of you to judge your age, but you might have your home telephone number on your CV. Yeah. If I ask my kids, who are all teenagers, what their home phone number is, they go, didn't even know we have one. Yeah. So generally the perception is, who are the only people that have home phone numbers?
Pensioners.
Old people like my mum and dad. Yeah. Bizarrely, I can still remember my home phone number from the house I grew up in. I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember my home phone number from the house I grew up in. So don't put home phone numbers. Mobile, email, that's it. With the mobile number, be prepared to answer the blooming thing. I don't, because I'm not job searching. If I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. But you're in a race. Imagine if you got yourself, they produce this list of people from Indeed. Imagine you got yourself in the top 5 or 6 people. Yeah. And they called you and you didn't answer. Or more importantly, you don't have a professional voicemail on your setting. Do all of you have a professional voicemail on your phone setting?
Yeah.
Don't know. Let's be honest. That's good. Yeah. So your voicemail setting should be, this is the voice message from Matt Cheevers. Please leave your name and number and a short message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I always have to put the caveat, don't use my name, use your name, because someone did ask me that once. Yeah. And surprise, surprise, because we're robots a lot, people will leave their name, number, and a short message. And that's good, because you want that. Because if you don't answer their call and they go through the list and they get to number 12 on the list and they found their 5 people, do you think they're going to call you back? No. Yeah. So set that up so it sounds professional, because you can't always take a call. Yeah. The other good thing is they'll tell you what it's about. I remember 5 years ago when I was unemployed, walking through the street, the town centre in Hitchin, where I used to live, and my phone went, and I thought I'll answer it like a good boy. And I was like, "Hi, Matt Cheevers." And this lady on the other end, she said, "Hi, it's Janet calling from 123 Recruitment. I'm calling about the job you applied for." What do you think I was thinking?
What job?
Which one? Because I had 4 applications in the pipeline at that stage. And she said to me, "Could you tell me a little bit about why you want this job?" Yeah. Excuse my language, but I then proceeded for the next 30 seconds to bullshit my way through it. Yeah. And I then clicked and I said, "Can you tell me a bit about the company?" And she started and used the name of the company. I'm like, it's that job. By that stage, what do you think the first impression was? Not good. Do the voicemail thing, leave your name and number, and she'll probably say, "Janet's from 123 Recruitment. It's about the sales director you apply for at da-da-da." Gives you the opportunity, spend 5 minutes, research the role, get on the phone, be on the front foot, because first impressions are everything. One other point about the top of your CV. Please don't put your address, first of all. It's kind of like, you might as well just put if you give your mobile number, your email, your address, you might as well just put your bank account number and PIN number on there as well. Yeah. But also people judge people about where they live. Yeah, it happens. The other thing I don't like, which most professionals will tell you to do, is put a link to your LinkedIn profile. Yeah, I'll talk briefly about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is basically an online CV, and you can't sort your LinkedIn profile out until you've sorted your CV out. And it can be a very, very useful tool. Yeah. The reason why I say don't put your link to your LinkedIn profile, because the content is going to be largely the same with your CV, so it replicates it. What's the other thing you're encouraged to do when you create a LinkedIn account? You add something, and I would say probably
Photo?
a photo. Thank you, Gary. Yeah. So I'd say 85% of people on LinkedIn add a photo. Would you add a photo on the top of your CV?
No.
Why?
Depends on the role, though, doesn't it? Some ask for it.
Very few these days. Very, very few. Yeah. I've probably done it twice out of all the CVs I've written for people. And I still didn't like it. Yeah. But I did it. But it's very, very rare. Very rare. Because what they're going to do is look at your picture and make some sort of judgment on you. Do we want them to make a judgment before they've actually spoken to you or looked at what you put in your CV? We don't. Yeah. So I just generally, if I was working with, if it was on my profile, if I was job hunting, I would just upload an image that had MC or something like that. Yeah. I don't want them looking at this face. It's a face for radio anyway, not for a CV or a LinkedIn profile. So keep it clean at the top of your CV. Then what you want to do, yeah, the next section is called a profile section. You can call it personal profile, personal statement. I don't really care what it's called, but this is the key part of your CV. This is where you're saying, these are the skills I have that fit this role. And this is the bit that needs to be tailored to every role. What I'm looking for there, 5 messages. Yeah. Read the bloody job description, have a look at what they're looking for, research their company, God forbid, before you apply. Yeah. And figure out the 5 things you think they're looking at. If you end up with 6, it's not a major issue. If it's 4, not a major issue. But what the first thing I do when I look at a CV is I count the number of messages in that profile statement. And when I get up to about 28, I stop. It's too much. Less is more when it comes to the CV. Yeah. I'll show you an example in a minute. Yeah. 5 messages. What's important to them? Because all of you, I'm sure, if I gave you a blank, no problem. If I gave you a blank bit of paper and said, tell me what you're good at, you could come up with at least 15, 20, 25 things. And if I was working with you one-on-one, that's what I'd get you to do. And then what we're saying is, right, that's my list. Their shopping list of these 5 things. I'm going to pick the 5 things from my list and put them in that CV. Nice and simple. Make it tailored for every application. Then we will have a key skill section. The key skill section is a bullet point section. Yeah. And again, you have the opportunity to put across another, guess how many? 5 messages. So effectively what you could do with this CV is cover 10 different points. Now, bullet points are an annoyance because I'm old and I get grouchy about things. Yeah, bullet points are used to make it easier for people to read, correct? Why, oh, why then do people have bullet points that go on for 3 lines? It defeats the object. If I was writing your CV, every bullet point would be a line. Yeah, and what that helps you to do is actually cut out the crap and just get to the point. Most of my work on CV is just taking what someone said, no problem. Most of it is taking what someone said in 3 lines and putting it into 1. So it's concise and people can absorb that information quite quickly. Yeah. So 5 things at the top. Let me show you an example so you can see it. Just going to share my screen. You see my screen, anyone? No?
Not yet.
It's thinking about it. How about now?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yeah.
Yay, excellent. Yeah. So this is a guy I work with. I'll get rid of his personal details. It's probably not the best thing to do. Yeah. This is a guy I recently worked with. He had a 3-page CV. This is his CV now that he's got. What I've done for you there is to put the 5 key elements that he's trying to get across in red on the profile statement. So you've got these linking words. Now, what you probably want to do is rewrite this every time. You've got the linking words. It's just putting in the key messages. So he wanted to get across that he's all about transforming businesses. Yeah. From maybe a more traditional standpoint into the digital space. Yeah, getting rid of paperwork, putting stuff on the cloud, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so he's got 5 key messages there, and then he's got 5 key messages in the key skills section. Nice and simple. You may not like some of the terminology, but for this role he was applying for, this is what we changed it to based on what they put in their job description. Yeah, does anyone's CV look like this at the moment?
Mine is sugar back. I'm now looking at this.
Yeah. So honestly, right, you can go off and go online and get someone to do a CV for you for 39 quid on the old internet. Yeah. It will come back and it'll be an absolute load of garbage because they're not doing it in this country because you can afford to spend that. Yeah. And it will just come back barrage after barrage of information. Simplicity is key. So we've got the sections here where we're talking about the profile, the key skills, nice and clean. Yeah, nice and simple to read, and consistency is important. If we go down to the next section, the employment history section, yeah, what you'll see, I've broken my own I picked this one example and I've broken my own rules on the first one. Yeah, I'm talking about consistency. Yeah, there are 6 bullet points there in terms of what he did in that role. Yeah, there should be 5 really, but there's 6. Forgive me. And then what we do is we pull out of that, if you can, 2 bullet points on achievements. And we make those as number-based as possible. This guy was quite difficult with that because he was a project manager, so it's not necessarily numbers-based. But I want to see, if you can, the achievements pulled out for every role. If you can't, and we can talk about this in more detail if you want, then don't have one role that's got achievements and one role that hasn't. Because the key about this is making it look consistent. 5 and 2 generally the rules. Yeah, we don't have to put it was started on the 12th of April. It's irrelevant. The month and year. And we go through and we try and treat every job the same. Yeah, something here, we look at it and we make it nice and simple. There might be in these jobs, there might have been 10 things you did in this job. Think about the 5 that are relevant to that role. Generally, you won't have to change this section. And the reason why you won't have to change this section is because it's fact. The first 2 sections are about you. This section and the next section are fact. Where you studied, what you did in these roles, what you achieved, it's fact. You might want to tweak it sometimes for a particular role, but generally, it's going to be based on fact. Consistent. Because again, because I'm cynical, If his first role here at Genuine Foods had 6 bullet points, and then his next job at Control Risk had 3 bullet points, I'm thinking somehow that what he achieved at that second job wasn't as good as what he achieved at the first job. Is that just me being cynical? Maybe. Excuse me. First day having recovered from COVID last week, so I'm still coughing a little bit. So you go back, generally the rules they say are 10 years. Yeah. But if you've only been out of university 5 years, that's irrelevant. If you've had 20 years experience in the workplace, then there might be some stuff that's older than that that's relevant. But your CV overall should be no longer than 2 pages. So what you can do then, in this case, is 3 or 4 jobs. What you could do then here is just list some of the old jobs. Yeah, without the detail, just listing some of the old jobs. And I can send you my CV why I've done that as well. Any questions on the employment history bit?
No, it's good.
Also on here, one other thing to mention, if you've done volunteering, sometimes I include volunteering there as well, especially if a person's been out of work for a while, because it fills in the gaps, and that's quite important. Yeah. Next section, qualifications and training. I group these two together because sometimes people don't have a lot of qualifications or don't have a lot of training. So what I will do is I will group them together, and sometimes these can be 6, 7, 8 bullet points depending on the role. Yeah, but this can include either stuff like print qualifications, or it can include academic qualifications as well. Yeah. Now, generally, what I wouldn't do is include the place that you studied. It's far more important for me that you generally focus on what you achieved, not where you achieved it. Yeah. In this case, I've made an exception because of the reputation of these 2 places is quite a positive thing. Yeah. I went to a dodgy comprehensive in North London, and there is no, I'm surprised it's probably still standing. There is no value for me in putting that on here. If I went to Eton or Harrow, which you can tell by the accent I didn't, yeah, then that might add something to that message. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Otherwise, focus on what you got rather than where you went. If you've got GCSEs, A levels, if you scrape by like I did, yeah, with C's and the odd B, then it's not going to sell you. If you're younger on this call, and again, I can't see all of your faces. If you have recently done your A levels or GCSEs in the last 5 years, if you've got A stars, make a deal of it because it's a big deal. So we are only putting stuff on this CV that can sell us. Yeah. That shows us in a positive light, because, and this is really important, really, really important. Yeah. Your CV has one job, and that is to get you an interview. That's it. A CV does not get you a job. The way you interview and come across will get you the job. So you need to treat this exercise with a CV about how am I jumping the queue and how do I get face to face, or in these days, Zoom to Zoom, or that awful thing called Microsoft Teams, which I hate with a passion. Yeah. So the CV has one job, which is to get you face to face. And you're just providing enough information to tease them so that they want to get you in to meet you face to face. That's all the CV does. The last bit of the CV I've taken off screen, and this is your choice really. I include it, and I don't call it hobbies and interests because it sounds like it's from the 70s. I call it interests, and I believe that if you have some interests, then what they can do is back up your personality and your skills. Yeah. So for that chap there, I think it said something like he has a lot of Swedish friends following traveling in Sweden, so he's learning how to speak Swedish. Does that show him in a good light? Yeah, of course it does. I can barely speak English, let alone, take on another language. If you're active, you go to the gym, you're crazy and you like running through mud or wading through mud and running marathons and stuff, put it in because it shows you in good light because you're dedicated. Unfortunately, my hobbies involve working hard and then sitting in a pub and having a pint of Guinness of an evening. I don't go to the gym. I don't do anything exciting. So on my CV, I don't have any interests, because if it just says a pint of Guinness sitting in the sunshine, people watching, probably not the best thing to put on the CV. On the interest sections, we keep anything that can be controversial out of there. If it says I am an active member of my local Conservative Party, don't know who's reading it. Yeah. If it's you put something about a particular cause, not sure who's reading it. I remember seeing a CV years ago. Yeah. Said that I'm a season ticket holder at Arsenal. I was reading his CV. Guess who I support? In a world of cities and Uniteds, there is only one Hotspur. I did give him an interview because I thought that might be a bit petty not to give him an interview because he had a bad choice of football team. Yeah. But you get the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. You run the risk of going in the wrong way if you put the wrong sort of information in there. So the CV needs to be clean. It needs to be concise. It needs to be focused on 5 things, and focus on what you think those customers need. And remember that the CV only has one job: get you face to face. That's the key. Keep it simple, get it face to face. Then the whole world of interviews is a whole nother joyous experience. But for now, we focus on actually getting their interest and piquing their interest. Then when it gets to LinkedIn, look, I mean, I could spend half an hour giving you a demonstration of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not that difficult. You know, if you've got a LinkedIn account, once you've sorted your CV should mirror your LinkedIn account. You should be putting the key skills, the achievements that you've put in your CV into your LinkedIn profile. And then LinkedIn is just a bit like working it like you would on Facebook. It's about connecting with the right people, finding the right jobs, and then please not using your LinkedIn profile to apply for those jobs, taking it offline and making it bespoke to that role. Yeah. So LinkedIn is about growing your network. Yeah. Some of you may have 500, 600, 700 people on it already. That's good. But use that system to contact people, ask people for advice, and to showcase your talents. Yeah. In my case, I have 20,000 connections on LinkedIn, which works well for my business. That's because I found a bit of dodgy Russian software online about 5 years ago that allows it to mine it and add the connections. I don't encourage you to do that. Yeah. But LinkedIn is just like Facebook. The more people you add, the more content you can see. The more you like a comment, the more you comment on something that a recruiter's posted or a business has posted, it gets you notice. But everything you do on LinkedIn, once you've found something you want to apply for, take it away from LinkedIn and apply for it in the traditional way of a covering letter, a CV that's relevant to the role, and finding a way in which you can jump the queue. What I mean by that is, if we get, say we get a company that's advertised a job and they put it out on all the job boards, they put it out on LinkedIn, they've got 100 applications. So they're sitting there, they've got 3 pots of applications. Yeah. They'll have the applications that they got from Indeed, which will probably be about 70% of it. They will have about 25% through LinkedIn. Yeah, I've got to do my maths quickly now. And they will have 5% left where people have gone direct to the company and applied direct to the company if you have their name, and they're sitting in pot number 3. I've got 3 pots, 75 CVs, 20 CVs, and 5 CVs to look at. Which one am I going to look at first? The one with 5. Yeah? Because it's people generally doing this. If I find the 5 people I want in the first pot, happy days, because I don't have to trawl through LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever it may be. So a lot of this is about making it easy for the recruiter and the employer. Any questions?
No, it's good. Really good. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've done 45 minutes. It's almost like I've done this before. So if you want any more help, if you want me to look at your CV, it's free. If you then at the end of that want some more help, then that's a conversation we'll have one-to-one, but there is no obligation to do any of that at all. Yeah, I will make this recording available so you can watch it back again if you are really desperate. And it will also probably be a good cure for insomnia as well, if any of you are struggling. Yeah, so if you want to put your contact details in the chat box, then I will reply to you and we can take it away from the group. If you're just happy with what's been said so far, then I hope it's helped in some way. And I wish you kind of good luck moving forward. And just remember that you've got to be resilient. That's the key word with all of this. But I'm happy to answer any questions if any of you have got any questions.
So quickly, speaking for myself, Matt, I would have said my CV's, I'm quite happy with it, but the problem I have is I find it very hard to delete my experiences in my life, because obviously I want to be able to refer back to that and bring it up in an interview. So I probably would want a bit of help with that, probably trimming it down. Probably something I could do it myself. I wouldn't mind having a second pair of eyes. So
yeah, that's what half of it is sometimes, to be honest. Another pair of eyes looking at you. Any more questions, or shall I leave you all in peace?
Oh, thank
that was
you very
great.
much.
Just your contact details, please, Matt.
Yeah, shall I put them on the chat now? And if you want to take them, you can take them.
Can do.
That'd be great.
Just a quick one
Cheers
for
for that.
me, Matt. Sorry, I was a bit late joining past it. I was stuck on another call. Would you say that LinkedIn Premium is worth the money in the investment?
No.
You would.
I just think, like in everything, get the basis right first. Yeah. Get to the point where you think, right, okay, I've worked everything on LinkedIn that I can for free. Yeah. I'm making progress. I've got connections. I'm contacting people. I'm, talking about articles and all this sort of stuff. Then if you get to a situation where you're hitting a brick wall and you look at the premium stuff and it says, oh, this can give you access to that and that and that, then buy it. But don't buy it now. It's a bit like if you're building a house. Yeah, the first thing you're going to do is not choose what wallpaper you're going to have on the walls. You can kind of make sure that this place has got solid foundations and that everything structurally is kind of right. So I'd keep your money in your pocket for now until you feel as though you've hit a bit of a brick wall.
Okay, brilliant. Well, yeah, just the final one for me, Matt. Thank you. I obviously arranged this. You helped me before, and the format, the CV you showed me pretty much mirrors mine, although I've suddenly realised that I've broken all of your rules over the last 3 or 4 years, and I've got more bullet points than I did when you originally revamped mine. But just thank you for giving up a bit of your time today.
My pleasure, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm leaving the house for the first time in a week because I'm COVID free, so I'm looking forward to it.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much. Take
Thanks.
care.
Sasha, Matt, thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.